Hello everyone, we'll be starting in a moment, getting everything set up, so please bear with me. Okay. These. Saved. Going up on there. Connection seems to be good. I think we're good to go. So, hi everyone, welcome to another stream of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, the second game. Today, we are continuing where we had left off last time, which is the first case. We have learned that Susato is pretending to be a boy, so she can present in court as a lawyer. And she's defending her best friend that she had always had and hadn't just been made for this one game. They've been friends forever. But we have learned that Giselle Brett, the murderer from the first case in the first game, was killed in this one. She was stabbed in the back, but turns out the knife might have been laced with a poison that could not be detected unless you've got the university's help, because the university made the poison. And it may be the same poison that was done in the first case in the first game, too. So, you know, it's wild. Also, someone took a picture without anyone knowing that they were there, and they took a picture of a changing room that was only had women in it at the time, which is kind of concerning. But yeah, we found out that it was the same person who took a picture of the writer and the professor together. So we know that it's the same person because they have the same scratches or cracks on their camera lens. So we're trying to get that person to come onto court so we can get them to testify, and then we can snap this case shut. Because, like, camera, get it? Anyway, yeah, we're going to do that. And, yeah, I think that's everything. I guess with Susato, she's very modeling after, Naruhodo. So, there's that. Hey, Rafatron, welcome. Let me just quickly catch up. Okay, yeah. But yes, welcome. So without further ado, let us begin and see if we can finish off the first case. Play. Animations. Ow. Right, let me see. We're showing up. Yep, sounds picked up. Need to refresh the screen. Yes. Yes! We're good to go. Continue. The adventure of the blossoming attorney. Yes. Trial part 1. Shouldn't we try part 2? 13th of August, 10:41 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicator. Defense Antechamber 3. I'm so sorry, Susato. I should have told you about the toxin. Ray. You have a strong sense of responsibility, I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone. No, that's not it at all. I was scared of my failure becoming to light, that's all. So I hope to retrieve the substance from the English woman before anyone had found out. before the trial started, you remember what you said, Susanoo? That you had no doubt in your mind about my innocence. You'd stand by me to the last? I remember. And yet I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susanoo. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susanoo, I deserve it. No, in fact, throw me on the floor. Yeah, throw her! Violence! That's what you're good at, Susanoo. It's the only thing that you're good at. I take that back. She's not. It's not the only thing. No, that's too good for me as well. Drag me through the city streets. I'm no better, you know. Oh? Even though I knew in my heart that you'd pulled the knife blade from Mrs. Brett's back, Miss Brett's, there was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you. Susanoo, you wouldn't dare! I'm sorry, after I stood here and promised you that I'd stand by you and always be on your side, I betrayed your faith in me too. And as such, I failed you as a lawyer. Oh, no, no. And then they made out. Hey, Baloroth. I think this situation has taught you both a valuable lesson. Placing your unbridled faith in another is no easy task. Yes, Father. The fact has certainly struck home. Which is why I can see more clearly now. The rain is gone. So, Ray. Yes? Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? And then marry me? Oh, Susanoo. You'll always be my a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now. Oh, Ray. The fade to black is ominous. I was so scared, you know, when it happened. I didn't know what was going on. But the Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet. Before collapsing on the floor in front of me, with a knife in her back and a smile on her face for some reason. It all happened right before my eyes. And you were the only person in the hut at the time. That's right. Just Miss Brett and myself. There was no one else. So I just don't understand how she could have possibly been stabbed like that. Great mystery indeed. I still can't believe it happened. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up. It'll be alright. However it happened, whatever really went on by the sea that day, I promise you that I'm going to prove everything you said, you saw is true. Spoken like a true Mikotoba. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time. Let's make sure we have all facts in order. But yes, I expect the poison is going to come under close scrutiny in the upcoming proceedings. The police should hopefully have identified it on the blade by now. But the trouble is, it's a completely new laboratory synthesized blend of alkaloids. The police won't have any way of testing it for it. Oh, I see. I assumed that's why they asked for the university to help, because they do have that. Yes, without this chemical reagent, it's impossible to detect the toxin. Chemical reagent? I sent a colleague of mine off with some earlier to deliver to police headquarters. I think perhaps you should have some as well, though, just in case. Drink it! And then your insides will be covered in it, and then when you need to, you just drool on something. Special indicator solution for a new poison when under development by my father's team. It's been created in strict secrecy and exists only in my father's laboratory. I examine it. Ooh. Bunch of squiggly writing. The label appears to be written in a foreign language that I don't know. It's German, so your knowledge of English is going to be of little help here, I'm afraid. Couldn't you just have written medicine on it in Japanese? Then we'd all be able to read it. German is the international language of medicine, my dear. It really isn't. Maybe then, I don't know. I don't think even then it was. But yes, I can certainly see the merit in labeling the bottle in Japanese. Although I am not sure medicine would be entirely appropriate. Can I take the top off? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? Can I put it in a drink? What's the matter, Susanto? You're suddenly very quiet. Is this newspaper article? Exclusive deadly poison stolen from UMAU Medical Research Laboratory. That's how she would say it, because she's posh. Laboratory, not laboratory. Laboratory. Even though there's no other O in there. I'm wondering how the information got out, given that it was a government secret. It's all the Englishwoman's doing. What? It was when the professor and Soseki-san were being interviewed at the laboratory. I was wrong, there is another O in there. The so-called English lady swanned in and without any compunction said to Professor Mikotoba, "Oh, Professor!" I need to say it in a posh way and I've forgotten how to say it. "Oh, Professor, surely your guest would love to hear about your work on that substance there." Put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. But Soseki-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction. So then, Soseki-san knew about the poison. Yes, and it's highly unlikely that the reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught a glimpse of the toxin too. Turns out Soseki's the one who stole it. He's actually an international spy, and we never knew. This Many Memo-san, that was his name. By the way, did that reporter join you after you went to the beach? Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there. Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone would have wanted him there. Oh? A known criminal had been given permission by the authorities to bathe by the seaside. Soseki-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office. And yet he obviously didn't go back. He secretly followed the party to the beach and took this very candid photo. He wanted to catch naked women! And then presumably he posted it anonymously to the police. Ah. Yes, that must be what happened. Counsel, we've just heard that the new witness is now ready to testify. The trial is about to resume. Please proceed to the courtroom at once. I just discovered a new voice there, I guess. It's time to steel ourselves once again, then. Defense attorney Ryutaro Naruto. Yes. Ray has put her faith in me now and told me everything. So I can't let her down. I have to prove that she was telling what she's telling the court is the truth. I have to prove what really happened that day. Even though that's not my job, I'm a lawyer. I'm not supposed to do that. That's what the police are supposed to do. 19th of August, 11:30 a.m. That's a whole, almost an hour later. Courtroom 1. We have returned. I hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Ray Mamambi. Prosecutor Algie, have you summoned a new witness? Before I address the question, Your Excellency, I have some very important news to share. Oh? What news? And why does he look so happy about it? During the recess of the collaboration of Professor Mikotoba's laboratory at Yuma University, Police re-examined the knife that was used to end Miss Giselle Brett's life. Excellent. I admire your rapid handling of the matter. Oh, too kind, Your Excellency, too kind. I was merely carrying out your instructions, of course. Every time I hear steal yourself, all I can think of is the Agent Calamity Impact. I had the reagent delivered to the police headquarters by rickshaw, so it would be there in good time. But judging by the man's swagger, I fear we need to brace ourselves for the inevitable. And counsel, what was the result? The dagger, which is so cruelly used to end the life of the victim, has no trace of poison anywhere along its blade. What? Are you sure about that? I would stake the reputation of the police on it. On with the reagent, the test is extremely simple. They couldn't have made a mistake. Intentional or otherwise. But a weapon has been entered as a court record. In short, the accused feeble excuses earlier. What are you doing? I'm examining the evidence. You can't do that. I'm in the middle of a speech. Too bad. Ah, yes, this must be with the victim's blood. Oh dear, blood is never a pretty sight, is it? I wonder what it tastes like. I'm having to fight the urge to run it under a hot tap and clean it, or lick it clean. You've always had fastidious... You've always been fastidious about cleaning, haven't you? I think this is something else, Father. I wonder if this thing here is a button. Like, you press it, and then it comes out, and there's a vial, and you, like, eat it. Can I not use the solution on this? Do I have to, like, combine it? I know there's not an option to do that, but... Has been utterly destroyed! Finally, I can continue what I was saying! Now the prosecution is ready to call the rule witness. Ah, the newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph at the crucial moment. Good. Very well. Officer, bring in the witness. No trace of poison on the knife. But if that's really the case, how could the toxin have entered the victim's body? Is it going to be the same case where she also went to the dentist? Witness, please state your name and occupation for the call. Written memo, many memo of the show you news. I'm what people like to call a journo. Well, what's a journo, Father? Do you know? It's simply a contradiction of journalist. A contraction. I'm here with the news breaks, putting pen to paper to catch these scoops so they're in print the next morning. They don't call me the hero of the Herald for nothing. The nice guy of news. Oh, so was it you that took this photograph, was it? Well, well, what have we here? I'm sorry. Oh, brace yourself, people! The many memo says there's a scoop in the offing. Female student up to foul play, defended by curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court. The readers will lap this up, set in above the fold at 72 point in a 5-leg format and for the morning edition. Well, that's a lot. Huh? Right then, let's start with your name. Oh, it's Ryotaro Naruhodo. Next, what made you want to become a lawyer? I wanted to reform our country's legal system, I suppose. Ryotaro started to become very ambitious, I see. I just borrowed Kazuma-sama's drink for a while. By the way, my name is Taketsuchi Aochi. That's Taketsuchi Aochi. The so-called dark horse of the Supreme Court. My objections strike fear into every defense lawyer's heart. No, the readers won't buy that. What? Witness. Yes. What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for the taking of this picture. It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Bureau only yesterday. Yeah, it wouldn't be a journal if it didn't click quick when they're presented with a scoop like that now, would I? Sometimes stories call out to me, sometimes I have to chase them down. But either way, you've got to be fast. Fast legs to run with and fast hands to write with. It's no good if you don't write it down, I always say. That's what I call my minimoism. Minimoism? Ah, yes, I remember your face. We met the day you were interviewing myself and Soseki-san. Yes, right! That was me, Minimomo again! But you were supposed to be going back to show your news officers after our meeting. But the scoop is I didn't! Because the Englishwoman's word had piqued my journalistic interest! Miss Brett's words? A criminal left to do as she pleases just because she happens to be a British citizen? It's horse dung! This country's judiciary is rotten to the core! The Supreme Court's rulings aren't worth the paper they're written on. The police are just imperial pawns. Stay your tongue, young man. These are complex political issues at play. Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my memo pad. I'm surprised I said that all in one go. Are you ready? I'll read it out. It's all here. Right, here it goes. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coasts. A serious criminal going on some junket? The people need to know about this. That's why I decided to sneak after them. How many pencils does he have? To get to the woman's story, all I could hammer in the press. Do you mean to say that you did indeed witness it firsthand? The grim scene portrayed in this photograph. Oh yes, I saw it with my very own journo eyes. From start to finish, through the viewfinder of my trusty camera. Thank you, Minimomo-san. You will now give a formal testimony before the court. You will state exactly what it is that you witnessed on the events surrounding Miss Brett's death. Woo. The camera never lies. The beach hut was made of shoddy old reed screens, so there were plenty of gaps that I could see inside through. The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife. Throwing the Englishwoman to the floor, she stabbed her in the back. My smoldering journo spirits burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera, ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through to the perfect shot. Pulls that any harder, the whole thing's going to snap. Alright, Balleroth, thanks for dropping by anyway. Read screens, you say? Right! You can see them clearly enough in that great shot I snapped. The hut were just screens made of coarsely woven reeds. Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief for the summer heat. And it was a breeze for me to put my camera through and see the whole thing hotting up. Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved, did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut? Oh yes, I saw it. I saw the whole thing from start to finish. Did you say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens? Well, luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. I pulled the reeds apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. Why is that got to be oddly sexual? Like, what? If you say that any other way? Would I get away with it? Would I get away with it, or would I be seen? It was a gamble of a lifetime. A tenacity of purpose that considered admirable in journalists, I suppose. Run a risk, one a day, run a scoop in the next. That's the minimoism in a nutshell. And he said snutshell, which is not a word. At last. It would appear we have genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict. No. Wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that this testimony begs one very large question. What question? Exclusive news, a startling photograph, all the markers of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why, then, was the story never published? Oh, that's right. It seems clear to me that there are circumstances at play here that are yet to be understood. Ha! More pathetic excuses. Very well, Counsel. You'll proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, Your Excellency. There's more to this reporter than meets the eye. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest. And I'll rip it off his chest. Ah. Sorry about that.
Hold it!
What made you want to see what was happening inside the beach hut in the first place? Call it journo instinct. Can you think of a better reason? Oh, I don't know. Perhaps because as well as being a proven criminal, the person inside was a young woman. Ah, I see where you're going with this. Brace yourselves, people. He's painting the journo as a voyeur. It's hardly slander, sir. You had a camera and you were taking a picture about the woman's knowledge. Nope, you've got it all wrong, little student boy. Sorry? To my mind, all that was inside the hut was a scoop. Nothing more, nothing less. Scoops know no gender, man or woman. It's all news. That's not even minimalism. It's basic journalism. If only the courtroom was as indiscriminate. Right, so it's all about that buttoned up. Can we move on? Tell the court then, witness, what sight befell your eyes when you looked inside the hut. Why is it gotta be like that? It's like, for out thou, wilt thou show us what thou sawest in thine eyes? A sight that vindicated my journal instincts. That's what. Well, saying that journo is derogatory is like saying that all Italians are racists. It's like because they say buongiorno. Just saying giorno is a derogatory term. When I pulled back the reeds, all I could see was clear as day.
Hold it!
So you actually saw Memambi-san entering the hut? Yep, and she was raging. Raging like my journal spirit. The argument you mentioned, what was that about exactly? You stole it. I didn't steal it. That kind of thing. Talking about the poison, I suppose. The student girl walked right up to the Englishwoman and really started laying into her. I mean, if she said laid in there into her anymore, there would have been eggs. What? What? The man should have been an author. His descriptive talents are wasted on journalism. But the students' ratings or rantings fell on deaf ears, like a Japanese person listening to English for the first time. He really ought to work on his similes first, though, to be honest. Anyway, the point is the woman in the dock was mightily angry. And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems. Dear me. Which was the climactic moment that I caught on film. I wonder, does it actually say... I would think that if she was thrown to the ground, there'd be much more of a mess on the floor.
Hold it!
Do you swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment when the stabbing took place? Ha! The precise moment? I didn't see just that. I saw the whole hellish scene play out, from start to finish. I have here a simple plan of the beach hut. But you perhaps could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed. Right you are. It's all here in my memo pad. When I first peered into the hut, I'm sure that the Englishwoman was on this stool at the back of the hut here. Yes, the accused's own testimony confirmed that. She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly. Is that what I have noted down? It's my turn to testify now, try not to interrupt. Then, the next moment I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. Why does she have to be evil? After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. The Englishwoman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way. And in a flash, plunged the knife into her adversary's back as the two passed each other. So you're saying that the woman actually attacked her? Colonel. I went into the wrong voice then for a second. What you describe as a grim scene indeed. And never sugarcoat the truth. That's what that's what Menomoism says. Beach hut plan has been entered to the court record. By the way, Memo-San, whilst you're watching that terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the screen, did it not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy, rather than capture it on film? Journos have to be observers. We can't get involved. That's our raison d'etre. You don't speak English, but you understand French. Okay. You didn't converse with Miss Brett at all. Obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside looking in. And that's something to be proud of, is it? Your Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor. I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should be perhaps added to his formal testimony. Father, what are you... I will grant the defense's request. Many Memo-san who will supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement. Well, nihilism is the foundation of Menomoism, but I'll be gladly prove that my words aren't meaningless. I keep thinking he has, like, armbands on, like for swimming.
Hold it!
Really, you didn't set foot inside the hut at all? Are you quite sure about that? I think you may have the wrong impression of me. We're talking about a murder scene here. My nerves are stretched to breaking point already. Oh, I see. You were scared. Maybe I did have the wrong impression of you. Yes. It was all I could do to stifle a scream and hold my hands steady enough to snap the shot. You really should have been summoned help before thinking of your camera. Menomoism and humanism don't always agree. And most of the time in those instances, the Menomoism comes out on top. As a sculptor of stories, sometimes I have to be cruel for my art. Yes, that's the spot on. Surely he's making all this up. He claims to have spied the whole affair from start to finish. If true, his testimony is devastating. But it does seem as though he's holding something back, doesn't it? If that's how you feel, I suggest you trust your instincts and press him on everything he's said. as you've no doubt seen so done many times before in your role as a judicial assistant. Yes, I have. I've seen witnesses like this present often. I know exactly what to do. Well, if you would let me do it, then yes. How did we skip right to the end on that?
Hold it!
Do you swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment? I think I've already asked about this. Yes, I have. Skip.
Hold it!
There we go. The court is fully aware of your desire to capture the incident on film, I'm sure. But why then did you choose to post the photograph anonymously to the police? I'm afraid I don't understand a word that's coming out of your mouth. I do not speak Japanese. I'm asking why, as a journalist, you decided to not speak a story of the incident. I think of me as a sculptor who makes art out of the sordid private details of other people's lives. But I never discuss my own personal life on principle. I mean, that's basic mementoism. Rules for thee, but not for me. Shut up, I hate this guy. Nah, I don't hate him, I just hate that kind of thinking. It's not something to boast about. No doubt your burning desire to see the truth exposed and justice done was what motivated you. That's it, that's brilliant! My burning desire to see something other exposed. There has to be a good reason why he didn't think of write an article about what he saw, though. By your own admission, you were outside the hut. How then did you manage to take the photograph? Yes, that. I'm glad you asked.
Hold it!
But the two women inside didn't notice. Ha! Obviously not. If they had, where would I be right now? In jail, what? Or would you think you'd make you reflect on what you were doing? No, not a journalist's job is to collect little snippets of life as unobtrusively as possible. Leave nothing but footprints. Take nothing but photos. Yes, that's the spot on. Did he just make that up? The point is, the witness risked life and limb to obtain the photograph. And this photograph reveals the whole truth. There's nothing more to be said.
Hold it!
Really? You didn't set to it inside the hut at all? I'm not quite sure about that. I believe I already did this. Yes. Bling blong! Right, so we've uncovered as much as we can. Hey, Diggs, by the way, welcome. Right. The thing is, in order to take the picture from this side, he would have to be on this side, but there's a bunch of stuff in the way, so we'd have to be, like, here, maybe? But if that was the case, then this would be in the way. I think this would probably show the most things, but... Oh, it was a small suitcase. Never mind. I thought it was like a big thing. It's just a suitcase.
Objection!
Nope.
Objection!
Nope. Is that so, Counsel? Then perhaps you would care to explain to the court precisely how. How? Well, definitively. The contradiction lies in your apparent eagerness to present an empty argument, I feel. Perhaps I need to reconsider. Back. Maybe it should be on.
Objection!
Nope. Those you thrust in my direction is supposed to prove your point. I apologize. I did present it rather more forcefully than I intended to. You will kindly refrain from these overly exuberant outbursts, Counsel, by the verbal of material. You really put me in my place there. Charion reads as there were plenty of gaps I could see inside. English was sitting on the stool and the student came in and started arguing with her. I can say the girl pulled out a knife, throwing a push onto the floor, but she stabbed her in the back. Just hurricane and flashing with my camera ready to flick. Pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through. Perfect shot. Never set foot in there nor spoke English. It's very offensive. Let me just save. Okay. I think we've already presented the plan, but just in case.
Objection!
Yeah. What? Oh, G. Because I've pressed on everything. Is it one of those cases where I have to press again on different things?
Hold it!
All of it.
Hold it!
I guess. Oh, I don't know actually. Trying to think. Shows the entrance. Under, nothing over. Oh. I wonder if I need to see about this. I would be like, I test the solution on this thing.
Objection!
No. Because it would be if it showed signs of a struggle. That would mean that they did fight. But she's just on the floor. There's no like disturbed ground to say that, oh, she was thrown. Represent it here.
Objection!
I fail. The first case I actually fail. That will do. I am now satisfied that no reasonable doubt remains in this matter. The defense has consistently failed to refute adequately the assertions of the prosecution. Therefore, I hereby pronounce the defendant Raymamba me guilty. Yeah! Next case. Court is adjourned. Whee! I never decided to become a lawyer again. Retry from the scene. Yes. Now, do I have to do it all again, or do I automatically keep everything unlocked? No, I have to do everything again.
Hold it!
Skip.
Hold it!
I wasn't actually going to skip Rapatron.
Hold it!
I'll get this back again. Why did they put this one right at the end instead of back where the thing was?
Hold it!
Not done.
Hold it!
Speaking through it all because we already listened to it all. I'm just trying to get back where we were.
Hold it!
He's gonna have like red marks by the end of this from the way he's snapping those against him. Alright. You're looking at this the wrong way. Okay. What way am I supposed to be looking at it? I mean, I've pressed on everything. I've presented what I think is relevant to what he's even talking about. Sit in a stool. I guess for this one, like, how would he know if she was sitting in a stool if he couldn't see that? What's the floor plans? Yeah, because it's behind things.
Objection!
No, it's not. It's not that one. Could also be this because it doesn't show.
Objection!
Nope. I think this is the first time I've ever actually had like this much difficulty with a part like this. I suppose in this one instance, you could give me a hint. Don't actually downright say do this. Just like say, just give me a hint as to what is the correct thing I should be pressing on, or like examining and presenting things on. Both ends of the pen. Oh. Oh, I had forgotten about that. Okay. Well then.
Objection!
As soon as you pointed that out, I'm like, oh, right. Yes, because it's been a few days since I last did it. I had completely forgotten about the symbol on the end of the pen. Many memo-san, until now I've had a firm belief that newspapers are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth. You're spot on there. The press doesn't lie, which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the Shoyu News on my arm. In a way, there's more Menomoism. Well, that's more Menomoism. Sadly, though, it seems the journalists who write for those papers don't always share the same passion for the truth. What are you suggesting with those recriminatory? Never heard of that word. Counsel. Menimemo-san, do you recognize this fountain pen? This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. In fact, the murdered victim was gripping it in her hand as she died. What are you... If you look at the barrel of the pen, you'll notice that its owner's initials are engraved there. RM. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Counsel. The initials of the accused remember me. Is it a coincidence, I wonder, that your initials are RM as well? No! Rate and many memo. RM. That's horse dung! Can't you see one of the central tenets of Menomoism is being a pencil user? And yet, as the court has clearly been able to see on your right hand, there are very obvious blue ink stains. It would appear that you must have rather carelessly left it somewhere near recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is. Horsey horse dung! Many Memo-san, is it not the case that before she died, you met with Giselle Brett in that beach hut?
Objection!
Why wouldn't you listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse. Exactly. Shoyu News will stand behind me in all the way and deny everything. And there must be as many people with the initials RM as there are stars in the night sky. Stars? I meant stars. But the defense has neither the time nor the inclination to count every star in the sky. And there's no need anyway, because the pen has more to tell. And yes, there's another clue. A clue that undeniably proves who its owner really is. In that case, Counsel, the defense will now show the court where this alleged clue lies. Of course, Your Excellency. The clue on this fountain pen that clearly reveals its owner's identity is... I meant to present that. There's a number here, look. But isn't it a Yuma University one? It isn't. It isn't. It must belong to some other organization, I suppose. Blah, blah, blah. We've already done this discussion. I meant to present it, not examine.
Got it!
As well as the initials, there's also an emblem on this fountain pen. An emblem that you will, of course, recognize, Mr. Menimomo-san. Oh, goodness me. It's the emblem of the Shoyu News. In other words, the other of this pen is an employee of the Shoyu News, whose initials are RM. Suddenly, the stars in the night sky don't seem so numerous, do they? What did I do to my shoulder? Ow! Well, Memo-san, how do you respond? No! Order, order. Explain yourself, witness. So, this is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics to have well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets. I've used nothing but honest tactics. Right, then fine. I won't try to hide it anymore. Yes, not long before the Grime tragedy unfolded, I, as show you news reporter on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the Englishwoman. An interview? You never mentioned this before? When exactly was this? As I said, it was before that evil little student girl showed her face in the hut. It couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes. That's all, it was just a brief exchange. But it came to nothing, and as we men always say, the people don't expect their dues for unworthy news. However insignificant you deem it to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between yourself and the victim. You will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired. Got it, yes, all right. But on one condition. A condition? In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call back the earlier witness, Soseki Natsumi-da. Soseki-san? Oh, yes, according to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own, and brace yourselves, because it's not a harmless one, it's big. What? What? Nominalism states that the one man's secret is in every other man's front page story. Very well, I will grant the witness's request in this instant. Officer, summon the earlier witnesses back to the stand. Just the one. Soseki-san is hiding something. He's going back to being twitchy. I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss. Then, watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witnesses coming and running. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question. And he didn't say anything about that in testimony, which is why Memenoism demands I reveal it now. You mean to say the victim regained consciousness? And when she did, you decided to ask her a question? That's true, yes. He did, and that's not all. The woman gave him a very definite answer. An answer that incriminates the accused. This is preposterous! I'm only hearing about this now. Why didn't you mention this before, you yokel hack? It wasn't even a conversation. Yes, I did pose the withering English and rose a question. I didn't deny it. But she could no longer speak. She was barely conscious even. Counsel for the defense, I expect a thorough cross-examination to be conducted here. This court must and will know the truth. Oh, absolutely, Your Excellency. The reporter is claiming that Mr. Brett implicated Ray somehow. What on earth could have happened in that hut? A lot of things. The reporter is the killer. He drank the poison by accident, but somehow he survived. He's immune.
Hold it!
You asked her for an interview, you say? Well, of course I did. I wanted to ask her about the incident that she was involved in at the end of last year. About the case in which Mr. John H. Wilson lost his life? That's not the way I phrased it. Minimalism calls for straight talking. Why did you murder Dr. Wilson, is how I put it to her. Yes, that sort of talk is as straight as a ruler. Ask every question as if you're asking for a menu in a restaurant, I say. It's the best way. A veteran at the paper taught me that. And how did Miss Brett answer? With one simple phrase. Mystery is a woman's charm. Phew, that told me, so I waltzed right out of there. Really? Something about that doesn't quite seem to fit together. Leave every room as if you're waltzing in a dance hall, I'd say. It's the best way. A veteran at the Paw Paper taught me that. I said pauper. This is why I love Judge Jigoku. All because he's like, we must know the truth.
Hold it!
But that was a very persistent of you, considering that Miss Brett had just turned you away. Persistence wins the prize. Any memorist will tell you that. Let them think you've left, and just when they lower their guard, that's when you swoop in for the scoop. And the fruits of your labor are all too apparent in this telling photograph. Although I'm sure the young yokel student would rather not be reminded of this damning evidence. Actually, it's thanks to that photograph that we managed to identify this witness. And now that you've found me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I've got nothing to hide. I'm sure. Please, do go ahead, witness. The court is eager to hear what you've got to say. Try to stop me. There's a story to tell here, and I'm going to tell it. Even if it's a lie.
Hold it!
And Soseki-san remained behind the hut. That's right, yep, our author friend here. Was a babbering wreck, shaking all over from his head to his toes, mustache twitching, eyes bulging. What do you expect? You don't know. Terrifying troubles that taunted me whilst travelling abroad. Back behind baleful bars. They're coming back for me for sure. That's all I could think of. I think I felt as though I was grasping for air, drowning in a sea of cold sweat. Well, Soseki-san, the experiences in London have scarred him deeply. As the world seemed to close in around me, I quietly recited a prayer to Amida Buddha. Eternal emptiness, empty eternity! The end is coming for me, surely. No sutras are to resound in my courtroom, please. And now we've come to the crucial part. That's when it happened.
Hold it!
What question? What exactly did he say? Well now, you should hear that from the horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Writer-Man? Arrgh! Out with it, you yokel hack. I was in the wrong voice for a second then. What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying Englishwoman? Well, in truth, I had been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles in the sand, you see. Oh, that's unfortunate. You need to see a doctor about those crabs. Well, the sea stride is a place to be at leisure, I suppose, even for a grown man. But then all of a sudden, from the little beach hut, a young girl's panic-stricken cries for help pierced the air. Ray. I ran up to the beach to see what was happening, to find the defendant leaving over the collapsed victim. As soon as Inspector Hisanaga saw Miss Brett on the ground, he sprinted off to get help. And then, just a moment later, I heard a faint moan. A moan from the dead Englishwoman. I nearly jumped out of my skin! But what did you ask her, Soseki-san? I asked her, who did this to you? Don't protract this any longer. How did this woman respond? She didn't. She said nothing in response. But... When in the stand, you will answer the questions asked of you unambiguously. Now, without evasion or reticence, I demand that you amend your testimony. I will! Oh, I don't know what happened there. But she never replied.
Hold it!
So you tried to find out who the culprit was. He who asks questions is a fool for a minute. He does not remains a fool forever. And having been labelled a criminal twice during my time in Great Britain, I was quick to make up my mind. Better to be a fool for a minute than remain a fool in prison forever. However, you indicated the victim failed to respond, is that correct? I know why. I know why the Englishwoman said nothing. She was ignoring me because my mustache, because I'm Japanese. Not because she was dying. or, unable to, is because she's racist! Oh dear, Sasaki-san has really developed a dislike for the English, it seems. Having read the report of his time in Great Britain, I can't say I'm surprised at his xenophobia. But the Englishwoman didn't ignore you at all. Did she, Mr. Writer-Man? Well, yes, all right. She did respond in a manner of speaking, I suppose. She just lifted a trembling finger and pointed at the direction of the defendant.
Hold it!
Miss Brett pointed her finger at the defendant. Suzeki-san, is that true? It's not easy to stand here and say this, but when we first entered the beach hut, the Englishwoman was sprawled on the floor before us, and the student girl standing on the far side of her. When I asked, "Who did this to you?" the Englishwoman summoned her last ounce of strength to point a trembling finger back at the hut. Which was, it can't be denied, in the direction the student girl who stands accused today. No. Saseki-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original testimony? But fiddlesticks, I say! This is not a British court of law. You will respond in Japanese. Yes, of course, the Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut. But I was trembling, and she was trembling, and everything was a blur. And thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. Actually, no, it's not slightly, in a very different direction to where the student girl was standing. Just somewhere at the back of the hut where nobody was standing at all. Do you mean that your memory of events and the direction in which the victim was pointing are both unclear? Yes, that's it. Unclear. It's very, very unclear.
Objection!
Your Excellency, surely this proves the matter beyond a reasonable doubt. Yes, the woman may barely have been conscious, and yes, perhaps the finger was wavered slightly. But there can be no doubt that this is an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. Why? Because, as the court can see, there was no one other than the accused in the direction the victim was pointing. It's now abundantly clear that no one besides the accused could possibly have committed this crime.
I am inclined to agree. In the absence of any credible argument to the contrary, I believe we can now conclude this trial. No. No! The headline's writing itself. Dashing lawyers' hopes dashed. 92 point across the whole page. We'll do the extra addiction. What? Addition? Why I say addiction? This is a serious blow, Susano. Unless we're able to identify the true culprit and substantiate our claims with evidence, the judge will give us a ruling, the trial will be over. But that's impossible, Father. We don't even know how the crime was committed yet. Impossible though the task may seem, we have no choice. We must think back over everything we've learned thus far. Somewhere in all those details, I'm confident we'll find the clue we need. Ray gave us an account of how the events unfolded in the defendant's antechamber before the trial resumed. She told us what happened at the precise moment Miss Brett was killed. The Englishwoman was sitting in the back of the hut listening to what I was saying. And then a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet and died before collapsing on the floor in front of me with a knife in her back. How could Miss Brett have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty but for herself and Ray? Somewhere amidst all the information we've gathered so far, there must be an answer to that question. I take it then that the defense has nothing further to add.
So, the gallant Yoko student's luck finally runs out. I can't say I'm surprised.
In that case, I'm ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter. This is a crucial turning point now. If I can't establish what really happened, it's over. Where was the real culprit hiding? And how did he or she stab the victim? No. Let's do the other one. My brain, read the wrong one and thought, oh, this is the one I need. I'm just not in a position to establish what actually happened at this point in time. But if I fail to come up with something, If we fail to present a credible alternative to the judge, this trial will reach an unfavorable conclusion. There's no time to hesitate here, Cesaro. I understand. I'll worry about whether or not I can establish an alternative theory after I've established it. Whatever you really mean by that, it's worth a shot.
Objection!
Your Excellency, I respectfully ask you to postpone your adjudication for the time being. Oh, and to what end, counsel? The defense would like to present the court with an alternative theory. An alternative theory that can explain who the victim was really trying to implicate with her dying gesture.
Objection!
An alternative theory? Ha! None exists!
Objection!
How about you shut up and let me present it first? There was someone else present at the scene who could have committed the crime.
What?
And the victim, Miss Brett, tried to reveal who it was to those around her at the time. But by mustering all her remaining strength and pointing a trembling finger in the killer's direction.
This is a fiction! Fantasy!
Very well, as you seem so sure of yourself, counsel, I'm prepared to hear your alternative theory. So, young Ryotaro Naruhodo. Yes, Your Excellency. You will present your latest theory to the court by means of this plan. At the moment the victim was stabbed, where exactly are you proposing the culprit was concealed?
Take that!
Naruhodo-san would never give up. And I'm a Naruhodo now. And will be in the future when we get married. The true culprit who fatally stabbed Miss Brett was concealed in this location here. Are you mad, counsel? You're suggesting that the culprit was outside the hut.
What?
That what got me? Ugh. Order. 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 But Student Lawyer Naruhodo-san's Esquire, that makes no sense at all. You've just pointed out the exact spot where I was hiding to get my scoop snap. But I didn't see any suspicious individuals loitering about, I can swear to that.
Obviously, if the culprit had been outside the hut, there was no way that he or she could have stabbed the victim who was inside.
Actually, Prosecutor Ouchie, there is a way. And, in point of fact, the defense can prove evidence strongly suggesting that is precisely the way Miss Brett was killed.
You're bluffing! You're bluffing! You yokel!
The defense's assertion is clearly too fantastical for the court to comprehend. You will need to give us more guidance, counsel. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory that the victim was stabbed from the outside the hut? I mean, I guess this, because you can see the gap there.
Take that!
The original photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, it's clearly visible in this print. The traces of the fatal thrust that was delivered from outside the beach.
Objection!
You take us for fools? There's no hint of such things.
I'm sure that everyone present would agree. Someone, at least, appears to have noticed that it was what I'm referring to. Counsel, once again I must call on your to be explicit for the court. Where on this photograph is the trace of the stabbing which you claim took place outside the hut?
Take that!
And look closely here. In the screen at the back of the hut, you can see the effects of a blade having been forced through the reeds.
No, I can't. I can't see any such thing.
It's true that the cut in question has 4 walls as you expect. However, by parting the reeds, a knife blade could easily penetrate them. This is extraordinary. Yes. The true culprit actually stabbed the victim from outside the beach hut. And everyone at the present of the scene, there is only one person who could have done that. Only one person who was directly outside the hut when Miss Brett was killed. Rayton Menmenemo, you!
It could only have been you. No!
Objection!
This preposterous idea leaves the most almost speechless. Let's look at the photograph again. The victim lies almost exactly in the center of the beach hut, does she not? Are we to assume as part of this farcical scenario that the assailant was a knife thrower?
Objection!
No, of course not.
We're not?
If you recall the testimony of the defendant about the events just before the victim's death, inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on the stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable.
Ah! A stool!
Have another look at the photograph. The slit in the reed screen would align perfectly with the back of the person who was sitting in that stool.
My word. So, in fact, the victim was
Killed while sitting on that stool by a stab wound to her back delivered through the reed screen.
Ah!
Having been attacked, Miss Brett rose to her feet instinctively. But then, unable to speak, she collapsed on the floor in the middle of the hut. Before her, the defendant, remembering Sam's appalled eyes. And that, Your Excellency, is the truth of what happened on the beach that day. By your silence, Menimosan, I take it that you don't deny the charge.
This is absurd!
That will do. It would appear that we have a tacit admission of guilt from the witness. Accordingly, this court has successfully established the truth of this matter, which means the defendant, Memambi-san, is innocent of the crime. Oh, thank goodness. I finally made him cave. We haven't had his, breakdown yet, so I assume we haven't. We've got more to do. I must say, I've never been more proud.
No! This can't be! The Ouchicon can't! What of my growth? The growth of hope! If it wasn't all an apparition, I can't accept this, I won't!
I see no reason for the continuance of this trial. I will therefore move to conclude proceedings by delivering my final verdict, and...
Hold it!
Well, this is all very convenient. This is how the highest court in our mighty empire delivers justice, is it? Suppressing well-meaning citizens' freedom to speak and branding them as criminals. But we've established that the victim was stabbed from the outside of the hut, through the reed screen walls. And no one but you was in place in that time to have this hand built on the hilt of the blade. It's all perfect logical deductions. So, your argument hinges on the location of whoever stabbed the Englishwoman, does it? Well, it seems a little irrelevant now. Irrelevant? Where she was stabbed, how she was stabbed. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether she was stabbed at all makes no difference if you think about it. After all, this trial's already shown the whole thing hinges on something else. What are you talking about? Brace yourselves, little man. I am talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up. What? Enough obscurity. Explain yourself, witness. What's to explain? I'm talking about the poison, of course.
The poison?
Let's ask the professor for a comment on the situation, shall we? I understand that a deadly poison you were developing was stolen from your laboratory, correct? And it's been shown that the poison was administered to the victim, Miss Brett. Is that right? That is correct. The unusual constriction of the pupils are a sure sign that this particular poison was used. I see. So, presumably that means that the victim already had the poison in her body before she was stabbed. Given that her pupils were clearly constricted, it seems highly likely, yes. If she had been dead already, the poison could not have circulated in her blood.
Sure. How refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. Precisely, it matters not a jot who stabbed whom in whose back with whose blade. Because quite simply, the Englishwoman's life was taken not by the knife, but by the poison.
Objection!
But that cannot be explained by the poison being on the blade, as it already...
Objection!
Forgone already, have we, yokel? During these very proceedings, the laboratory and the professor at your side assisted in proving that the blade of the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison on it whatsoever.
Are we literally trying to say that even though this guy stabbed her, he didn't poison her, therefore he's not guilty?
What?
So let me get this down. The facts, as skillfully established by the defense in this trial, turn out to be a headline-making red herring. Is that about right? Well...
Dead.
Order. But where does this leave us? How, in that case, did the poison enter the victim's body? There is an undeniable obvious answer to that. The lady most likely imbibed it. Means she drank it? Have another look at the photograph here, as you can see. A bottle of carbonated water and a... Carbonated water, okay. Had been knocked on the sandy floor of the beach hut. That's why it's red. The poison could have been slipped into either. So somebody made Miss Brett drink it. Well, what do you know? Look at these dashing eyes. This will make a great front page shot. Hey, why the bewitching stare? After all, I'm the last person you should be looking at. It should make no sense at all. I poisoned the woman, would it? I mean, there's been established already.
Hold it!
Established? What are you talking about? Don't tell me you've all forgotten. That's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you. I said it before it even showed up. Me? What on earth does he mean? Oh, let me recapture those wide eyes. This is a prime press fodder, this is. It would seem that this trial is not destined to end yet after all. I hereby call upon the witness to give further testimony. And that's great, that is. Let me get a shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency. You claim to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering the poison to the victim. You will explain to the court in your testimony the basis upon which you can make such a claim. I am a journo and I'm a man. I've never tried to run or hide from anything in my life. And I'm about to start now, because that's minimuism. For a brief moment, I thought I'd illuminated the truth, but it slipped right back into obscurity again. Just where is this trial going to take us? Witness testimony. Complete innocence. Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman, and that very fact proves that I'm innocent. What? I stabbed her, but I'm innocent. I didn't kill her. That's like if you went back, if you did like an investigation of the murder of Caesar and said that, oh, all these people stabbed him, but the last person who stabbed him is the one that killed them. Like, what? Because why would I bother to stab if I had already poisoned her? When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. If the courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she did, someone else would have to see the justice done. That was literally just 3 sentences. So, you admit it then, that everything that happened as I described? That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the read screen? You can blame this miserable country of ours. A country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free? What kind of future can a country like that have? That's why I did it. I did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. A slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back, I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there. And someone who spends his life seeing the truth is told, I feel really, really awful about giving false information in my testimony before. But, as it turns out, there was somebody else who had it in for the victim and got her before me. That's right, you guessed it. That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart. You're implicating Ray again. She's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap! The journo here is off the hook. The argument is sound, certainly. No, it's not! He still stabbed someone in an attempt to kill them. If the witness had administered the poison himself, he need only have waited for it to take effect. Subsequently, stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical. Or it was to establish that he wasn't there, like to try and create a situation where it would seem as though he wasn't the one that actually killed her, if it came up.
And therefore, this reporter had nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's quite all logical.
And that's right, it is. Logical and true. I'm glad you've all seen the light. Justice at last. This is unbelievable. And after I've made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he going to get away with it now? I think of Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san. They never stopped looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel. I just realized she calls Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san. Like, Sama's more like a title, or like showing reverence to someone else. And I think San is one who's like where you're sort of on equal footing, but just, you know, respectful of equal footing, which is odd. Kind of shows how much closer she is to Naruhodo, huh? And that's why you knew about it with that title. Okay. I get what you mean now, where you thought I'd put that in there. No, I did it because of his shutter for his camera. I didn't even know he had, like, freaking straps. They never stopped looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel. Very well then, counsel. Proceed with what I assume to be your final cross-examination in this trial. Yes, Your Excellency.
Hold it!
So, you do admit that your murderous intentions toward Miss Brett, then? Ah, the woman's very existence offended my sense of justice. Your sense of... He's claiming some sort of righteous indignation. She was pure evil, a cold-blooded killer who committed murder right here on Empire's soil. Just like you. But did our good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance, so I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice, put things right for the people. Yes, it was my civic duty that drove me to do it. So, in summary, murderous intentions then. Whatever you want to call it, the point is this. That Englishwoman was a blight, so I had to do what was right for society.
Yet a real wrong was done by the student, the girl in the dock, a crime for which she must pay.
Sure, Ouchie. Obviously, because the poisoning has nothing to do with me at all. Because why would I bother to stab the woman if they already poisoned her?
Hold it!
So you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim? Obviously. Like, that'd be putting a belt on my trousers when you're already wearing braces there, like these.
The accused administered the poison, following which the witness stabbed the victim. unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of murder. That crime rests on the accused's shoulder. And that is how the law works. You see, yokel, who knows, you may even learn something here today.
2 consecutive attempts on her life in the space of 2 minutes. Or minutes, quite a day for the victim. Do something that evil and you're gonna get it coming. That's how the law works, the law of reckoning. That's not the kind of law this country court upholds. You will reiterate why you were compelled to set the victim and witness.
Hold it!
What exactly were they arguing about? About what happened in that restaurant 9 months ago. That's what. The student girl was laying into the Englishwoman for killing her beloved mentor, Miss Dr. Wilson. Yes, John H. Wilson. Professor of medicine, invited here from England by Professor Majorshepard, no less. Right, but the Englishwoman just jeered.
Her case was to be heard by the British Consular Court in Shanghai, however. There is little doubt that she would simply have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland for a free woman.
How do you know that? Were you there? That's in Shanghai, so shut up. It was eating that girl up inside. You could see it. I really felt for her. I can't stand here and listen to this tripe. Ray.
Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whatever you feel like it.
No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen. But this awful man is making all of this up. Zaro, please, you have to make them listen. Return to the dock at once, Mbappe-san. We are in the middle of a cross-examination.
Hold it!
Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. Exactly. He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, great peeping Tom. That's a lot of words. Whoa, take it easy there. That's a bit much for even for me. Please, I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say.
Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to enter the accused remarks.
I will grant the request of the defense. I just don't like you, Ouchie.
But Your Excellency!
This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, whilst recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak. Oh. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Imagine, in my mind, when she did that, I immediately thought she was going to hit her head on the frickin' bar there. It's just like, oh, thank you. Ah! It was nothing to do with Dr. Wilson. We were discussing the stolen poison.
Hold it!
The stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean? Well, that's Cusco's poison. I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson. That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge of the poison. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if the thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. Oh, that's true. I pestered Mikotoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited his laboratory. But as I left, I searched from top to tail. Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we developed, you see. And since Saseki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance. I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I've had regular terrible experiences with that deadly poison. I wanted to look that old enemy in the eye. Surely you can understand that. find out my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her that if they were able to help be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. The military would be dragged into it. The whole government, even. It would be a complete disaster.
And how did Brett respond to your concerns?
She just curved those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually. Beautiful lips, eh? You can't just say her lips. You say beautiful lips. Huh? Okay, then.
I think she had a thing for her, you know.
I hate you, but you're so goddamn beautiful.
Ah, yes. Many Memo-san, one small question if you don't mind.
I do mind. Can't you see I'm busy? Clearly, you were outside the beach hut listening in while the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Presumably, then, it was you who wrote this article about what you'd heard. Exclusive deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published in this morning edition of the Shoyu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else.
Sorry, don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, yes, look at this. The entire article. It's almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word. Well, Many Memo-san.
As a journo, and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my sources, the founding principle of Menomoism.
Father's clearly right about this, but that reporter did write that article, and he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut. Interesting. So that's what it's all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's where you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her.
Shut up! My stories never stink! Look, whatever you say, little girl, it doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I wanted to go on the record.
I was wondering why it was so short, his first testimony, and it's because there's so much that's coming out of it.
Very well, you may demand your formal testimony. The point is, if you poisoned someone, there'd be no reason for them to go stab that person as well.
Hold it!
Perhaps you doubted the efficiency of the efficacy of the poison and sought to make sure the victim would die.
That's horse dung.
What?
That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you even tasted it. Completely reckless. Although it might surprise you to learn that I'm a bit of an impetuous pepper pourer as it happens.
Once the victim had taken the poison, she would have only been a few minutes away from death. And yet, this man then proceeded to stab her in the back as well. But there has to have been a good reason for that, probably because he didn't know.
If it was the reporter who gave the poison to Miss Brett, then clearly he must have done it prior to Ray entering the hut.
Yes, that's undeniable.
Between him leaving the hut and the victim being stabbed,
there was one very crucial change in the situation.
Sorry? What change?
The reporter overheard the conversation between Ray and the Winter. Yes, that's it. That's when Menomoism-san first found out the exact nature of the poison he used. That could be the key here. Let me recheck that. If the victim had unwittingly taken the poison already, the reporter had no reason to stab her. On the face of it, the logic sounds entirely reasonable. But there's no question that this man was responsible for Miss Brett's murder. If we could think of a plausible explanation as to why he might have stabbed her after the poisoning, I feel sure that everything would drop into place. That's what we should be looking for. Yes, I agree. And in order to do that, I must try to glean more information. I think it might be this.
Objection!
Well, I can think of one reason. What? What? But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all the information for this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut?
Of course he did. There's no question of that. After all, when we were all in the laboratory together, all we were told is that it was a terrible toxin.
And there is one more important fact to consider. According to the witnesses, Bani-san, Verbal's attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Brett's drink.
Objection!
Where are you going with this, counsel?
Many Memo-san has it made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the defendant had some abundant opportunity, this man would have seen it. Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have imbibed the poison while the defendant was present. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Mambani-san entered the hut. Yes, very articulately put. When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point, the Menemo-san overheard some worrying information.
Worrying information? What is worrying information?
The information which is subsequently included in this newspaper article. I said it the wrong way around. Namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy, and that it couldn't be readily obtained. Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could come from is my lab. And furthermore, anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs and death. The extreme constriction of the pupils. Yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not among them new substances that are undetectable. In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison, which would have reduced the number of suspects to only a handful of people. Everyone in my laboratory is aware of those unique properties of the toxin we were developing. None of them would have been foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. Mambani-san being no exception. Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson unaware of his telltale properties. In other words, someone like you, Brayton Menmemo.
Yarr!
It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day. It was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized it was a terrible mistake, because the poison caused such unusual symptoms and was so untraceable. As you listened in from the far side of the beach's hut-thin walls, you learned of these facts. But you'd already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late. So you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involved stabbing the victim in the back through the reed screen.
Objection!
What could that possibly do?
It's obvious, Counsel. Isn't it obvious? The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect. Once in blood, the poison caused the onset of pupil constriction. But he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he? Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison use, no one would ever have expected or suspected.
This is extraordinary.
Yes, the effects of the poison meant it could be too easily identified, so the killer had to mask its use, which he attempted to do by plunging a knife in the middle of the victim's back.
He's gonna hurl! Order! Order! Order.
The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied with it that it warrants consideration. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward?
Well, there are a number of... yes, I can completely...
Objection!
The prosecution's evasive responses clearly shows that in much the same way as he nurtures the remnants of his top knot, he is clinging to lost hope.
Lost hope?
What was I going to say now? He's throwing his hat on the ground.
You pathetic, useless, fallen samurai! Fallen? What are you calling fallen? My burgeoning growth is on the rise!
I don't need a counter-argument. What are you talking about?
It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say? Gave it to the victim, you say? Stabbed her, you say? Lots of fine theories. I mean, the last one you said was true, so yes. But I don't need a counter-argument because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's the evidence? Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts. Facts? Facts? What do you mean? Explain yourself. I mean, what the professor said earlier in this trial. It's all here in my memos. Many memos. Every word. Every slip of the tongue. All noted. That's what the show you news is famous for. It's the power of the printed word. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly solid toxin for being developed for the government. Indeed, all the visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. And if the thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. How's that then? Blown the story wide open? See, I, Rayton Many Memo, a mere reporter from the Show You News, couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory. But there can't be any question of it. He must have stolen the poison that day. He stole it and used it to kill. And if that's the case, as you've identified, the poison itself is the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here. What's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin? Oh, okay. My point is this. There is only one way that you, Many Memo-san, could have stolen the poison that day. I've heard enough verbal conjecture now, thank you. But the court must be shown his evidence. What proof do you have that the witness stole the poison that day in question?
Take that!
The proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen. The fountain pen? How can that possibly be relevant? These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago now. I swear by a weasel-haired calligraphy brush, nothing else. These newfangled pens are merely a fad. Yes, that's why they're so used now. Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, obviously I love my fountain pen. Sucker Pasukon of sumptuous ink, one's work is washed with words in the blink of an eye. But that's right. Fountain pens have a small reserve, or reservoir, in the barrel, and in which some ink is sucked through the nib of the pen in order to write with later. What does all this talk of sucking up ink have? Ah! And just as it's possible to suck up ink into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course. My word. Can this really be? Well, Many Memo-san. When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used the fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir. Yar!
Objection!
More absurdity! It never happened!
True, we've heard that there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from the laboratory. But would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places? No, I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such detailed searches would not have been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say. I reminded the court that this pen was found on the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped by the scene by many Memo-san. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped? Are you suggesting? The natural conclusion is that in your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted for a moment, you dropped the pen after you emptied the poison into a glass.
Objection!
There could be any number of alternate explanations. For example, the witness could have just been using his pen to write down details of his conversation with the victim. And when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from his quivering hand.
Objection!
No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink?
What?
As you can see for yourself, if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen? No, the pen was dropped after the poison that filled its reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass. Witness, what do you have to say in your defense? So this is how modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? I can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve. He's Wolverine, but with pencils. Ah! You claimed I sucked up the poison into my pen? That's wild speculation, nothing more. If you thought you could bring down a fine, upstanding city with a trick like that, think again. It looks as though it's going to take one final decisive blow to finish this matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. And therefore it all depends on whether or not the defense can prove what they did with the evidence. Huh, no such evidence could possibly exist.
Objection!
Many Memo-san, this is how our modern justice system works. What? In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you would do well to remember. Because we're all well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you. Very well, then. I call upon the defense to present the aforementioned evidence. So this is it, then. This will be the final piece in the puzzle. The defense can prove by means of this item that it was the witness's pen that was used to steal the poison.
Take that!
Counsel, what is that bottle? This bottle contains the unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question. Ah! Yes, that poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It would be impossible to detect traces of it by any other method. Or, from another perspective, simply with this chemical reagent, anybody at all can check for traces of the poison. A reagent? What? One drop of the contents in this bottle, on the tip of your fountain pen, Memo-san, is all it would take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt. That's the court slang! Real court slang! No, you can't. I won't. Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat. Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once. He's throwing his camera! This isn't my fault, the Empire drove me to this! I'm trying to uphold his civilized nation by going ahead to every foreign power's whim. I took to arms and mounted pen and found I can't read that fast! And all the justice, righteous, and memories of justice! Many, memorable! Susanna with me. Okay. I'm here. I guess we're throwing him. Yeah! Just threw him! Did I do it right? That was a successful takedown, wasn't it? Not quite. That was a Ryotaro takedown. Oh, God. The instant the first drop of the reagent touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present. when I saw in the lab the poison, the devil got hold of me, and I decided to do it on a whim. I excused myself and emptied all the ink down the sink in the bathroom, washing the reservoir without carefully. And then you waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't you? In your fountain pen. Yes, that's right. Answer me one thing, Manimamo-san. Why did you steal it? For what purpose? Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it was a secret project after all, too juicy for a journal like me to pass up.
Then why did the Englishwoman end up dead?
I went into that hut intending to quiz her on the situation, that's all. As a reporter. As a known killer, enjoying full freedom. Evading justice by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face. Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman purporting to practice journalism? Really, you must learn the difference between reporting and listening at doorways. You ignorant plebeian. What did you call me? This country, with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press, it's really very depressing. You see, our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf. Get out and crawl back into the cave you came from. That's when I remembered. About the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. What a terrible tale. In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible, but I couldn't. I couldn't let her get away with what she'd done, when she clearly had no remorse at all. Not every killer's gonna have remorse, man. And that's most killers. I suppose it was my journo spirit, getting all fired up. I'd like to ask you something. Yes. You often talk about justice. But surely you haven't heard of Apollo Justice, the new game from Nintendo. But surely as a journalist you could have used other means to deliver your justice you sought. There's no justice in the press. Sorry? After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what happened in that courtroom. And finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up! That's what it was! A cover-up? What do you mean? I will remind you of your position, witness. Be careful of what you say. Oh, come on! Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national? Consular jurisdiction should never have come into it. And yet that puffed-up Englishwoman was about to sail away into the sunset as a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan. What sort of deal? I'd done my research, dug up all the dirt. It was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore up the article. It came under pressure from the government, you mean? If our government is going to let criminals walk free, if they're going to crush the free press, then what choice do I have but to see the justice is done myself? Let's not forget, Manimamo-san, that you committed murder yourself, and you tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Giselle Brett. What? The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all. I suppose. What is justice, though? It's defined by the people that win. It would appear that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Yutaro Naruhodo. I'm wondering if the judge never fell for it. He just went along with it because he knew that this woman was the best chance this was to get to the truth. That'd be kind of cool if they did that. He just knew from the beginning that she was a woman. Oh. Yes, sorry, Your Excellency. You're just musing in a manly way here. It's almost unbelievable that this is your first experience on the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it would very much remind me of your cousin's experience. Oh, Naruhodo-san. Ryunosuke. Mean? The way he handled the trial 9 months ago and the way you handled this one. It gives me hope that we are generally entering a new era of justice in this land. That's very flattering, Your Excellency. Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries. Thank you. So, Prosecutor Aochi, do you have any final thoughts? Prosecutor Aochi?
I, Taketsuchi of the Aochi clan, have been bested by the callow youths not once now, but twice. If there's any shred of any of my former self left, it is withered and died here today.
Gosh, your journal to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it?
Silence! I kill you!
Rather than living on in shame.
I will end it all now with this blade. For that is the true path of Aochism.
Aochiism? One hopes that the one only way in which he will be modeling himself after the witnesses. Is he just going to touch his hair, or is he actually going to kill himself? Because I would prefer the killing. Because then I wouldn't have to do his voice ever again, because all his descendants just disappear from the timeline.
Sprig of my top knot. Time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Taketsuchi. Ah!
Goodbye, hair. Oh my God. Oh, I forgot you were here. I thought you'd left. Now, in regard to the defendant Rayman Bami-san. Yes, Your Excellency. I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you not guilty. Flower petals. I win. Court is adjourned. "13th of August, 2:38 p.m. Yay! That was like, I think when we started again, it was like 12:30. So it's been 2 hours, at least. Supreme Court, Antechamber 3. It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest, though. It's all I can do to just stay standing. Lawyers have such great responsibility, such great burden to bear. Just defense lawyers, though, not prosecutors. Apparently. Don't they, Naruhodo-san? Susato! Thank you! Thank you so much! You were so dashing in there. Ray and Father. Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you've... Oh no, I think I'm gonna cry. It wasn't easy, but together we made it. I was on the verge of tears at the end as well, too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh no, I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Ray, so I would have to say that the congratulations belong to you. Susanoo, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends, equals. And the trial's over, so no more of this formal superhumanity nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger. To throw caution to the wind. Let's get drunk! At 16, yeah! Caution to the... What? I'm the great defense lawyer, Ryutaro Naruhodo, and I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow. Or something. Right, I see. I'll, think about it, Ray. At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man and felt so good. Yes, it was satisfying. It really was. Isn't there anybody else who could throw together? I hope you're not looking at me, Ray. Oh, my goodness. No, of course not. Of course not! There it is at last. Ray's lovely smile. You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you. Defense attorney Ryutaro Naruhodo. Thank you. But I couldn't have done it without your help. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryutaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but it's back to Susato Mikotobo now. I'm thinking that in the future she's going to have to do it again. Like, maybe when she meets up with Ryunosuke again. Or Naruhodo, whatever. So, I'll never see him again then. What a terrible shame. What? Don't know who this is yet. Oh. What is happening? Suzeki-san and Inspector Hosonaga, I do hope you've been keeping well. Is that really you? Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope, but it's me. Susato Mikotoba. I don't... So dashing, so divine. No! Doubly dashing, yes, and devilishly divine. Just look at you. I had no idea, Miss Susato-san Esquires, that you were a locum student and Naruhodo Esquire's cousin. I'm astonishingly astoundingly ace attorney. He made the name reference. End of game. Poor Saseki-san. So confused. I still remember the first time I ever met him. He was in a prison cell in London. What an extraordinary conundrum that was that the unwitting student from Japan found himself embroiled in. And after Naruhodo-san stood in defense of the Old Bailey, Saseki was free. Saseki-san was free to return to Japan. And now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author. I'm stunned. That's truly an impressive disguise. Even I had no idea. I'm a chief inspector of the police bureau. Came up with Mr. Turtle, no less. I'm not sure you would be admitting to that, Inspector. Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see. Just two, really, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime event, I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector. Well, I am a professional, of course. I do worry about Inspector Hosonaga sometimes, I really do. 9 months ago, when he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover disguised as the head waiter of a restaurant. And then he got beaten up on a sea liner. And then on the steamship of Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us safe on the journey. Which he failed at as well. Although that didn't help you, did it, Kazuma-sama? From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about all this. I mean, and now the truth has been lost forever. Oh, what do you mean? I'm talking about the murder that the English woman committed at the end of last year. Ah, yes, it was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it. Dr. Wilson, H. Wilson, yes. The man I invited to Japan personally. The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now that the culprit himself is dead, he'll probably never know the answer. On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter with Mr. Herlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean. Yes, I remember Mr. Sholmes well, of course. My arch-nemesis. How lightly you utter his name. Well, according to the stories published about him in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him 4 times! I tried to finish what I was saying and then sneezed halfway through. Ah. Who helped him solve crimes, a best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson. What? Dr. Wilson? I just can't believe that it's a coincidence. I think that the English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago must have been a friend and partner of Mr. Sholmes. And if that's really true, then the poor girl won't ever see her beloved father again. As you know, I travelled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born. Yes, Grandmother told me about it, and how you abandoned me as a child because you wanted to go to Great Britain to learn things. I was so lonely, Father. On returning to Japan, I took up my professorship at the Imperial University. I also serve another role, as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs. Yes, I was aware of that as well. In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you. Could you just tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan? It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you had collapsed with a high fever, and you were growing weaker by the day. What? Where did that news come from? That's what I'd like to know, because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Oh, really? Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way, or harm me? That's really the only explanation I can think of. It's because we had to split 2 games, the 1 game into 2, so I had to find a reason to bring you back. No, it's not my fault, it's the damn corporate espionage people. We had to delay it. I had to call you back, okay? It's not my fault. Dear me, you do reserve your most cutting glares for your fathers, is that oh? I'm sorry, my dear, I simply can't. Let me go! Mini Memo-san. So 1 throw wasn't enough for you? I've got one last thing to say before they take me away. Professor! Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went wrong. In the visiting student's fate. Visiting student? Giselle Brett, you mean? No, not her. The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago. Student of law? He must mean Kazuma-sama. What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma-sama? Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't even know the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never... Oh, hi! You look very different from this angle. Well, I didn't expect to find him in here. What were you officers playing at? Terribly sorry, sir, Your Excellency. I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw has arrived, Jim. It's good I came by. He was about to reveal everything. Yes, thank you for dealing with him, and I'll be there shortly. Oh, Your Excellency. The trial's over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore. Merely your father's friend, Seishiro Jigoku. May I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken on a more dashing appearance. Susato. I knew it! He knew from the very beginning! I was right on that! Did you know all along, from the start of the trial? A judge sees everything, Susato. I couldn't let you take the risk if Seishiro had known that he'd recognize you. So I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. So, Seishiro, shall we? Yes, having ruled on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address. Before you go, Father... Sorry, my dear. We will have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date. But well done again, both of you. You did admirably. Oh, thank you very much. What did you think of my Seishiro sling, eh? It's been a while since I've sent a man flying like that. Whatever could Father be hiding from me? About Giselle Brett? About Dr. Wilson? And now it seems, according to the reporter, about Kazuma-sama. I'm going to have to bring this up with Father sometime, when nobody else is around. Judicial Assistant Mikotoba Esquires, could I have a word? Oh, yes, of course, Sasaki-san. What is it? I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now. You see, there's something I need to tell you. Oh? I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England. This I have to hear. Please, Sasaki-san, tell me at once. I will. As you know, my time in England was, terrible. Cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness Locum Student Norahura Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on a ship back to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikotoba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report. My father? He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. But it was the very next day that he sent the telegram to you asking you to return to Japan. What was it then? The particular part of my father was interested in? I don't really know exactly. But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in? Of course, I would never forget. Your father seemed concerned mainly with the second case. The second one? You mean the one Mr. Sholmes forbade any of us to talk about in public? Which is why the only case involving you that any member of the public was aware of is the first. Well, I don't care. I don't have to listen to that dastardly detective says. Anyway, the point is, it seems that case somehow holds the key to all these curious unanswered questions. That horrific, hideous hyenas case. The case of the haunted lodgings. Hey. That case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan. I thought the whole business was over, but it seems I was wrong. Perhaps there was only to start. Perhaps the story is not yet told. Perhaps in the next case, it will be divulged. Oh. We're back here.
So, the mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san. But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter. I met Soseki-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in.
Soseki-san?
Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again. Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again. Yours, Susato.
Yours? Oh. End. Yay! Thank you. For completion of episode 1 of The Great Ace Attorney 2. Yes, I would like to save. Awesome! Overwrite. Now, the memories of the clouded cockroach. Wait, what? We already did that one. Huh? I mean, it says the memoirs. Yes, I get that, but still, isn't that the whole thing with the boat? Not the boat. The thing. um. Do we do a introduction for that one? Does it have one? Because if we do, we can watch that, but then stop because we've reached the end and it's a good place to stop for today. Yeah, 2 hours. I have a sneak peek into the next time we play this. But if it's not got a introduction thing, then there's no point. If it's like straight into the case, then we'll just skip it and we'll do that next time. Let me just catch up on chat for a second. It does. Okay. It does have an intro. I guess we'll watch it, but we won't like start. The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro, Episode 2.
It was a ghastly tale of a winter's night. One of an invisible killer and a crime perpetrated on the pavement along Briar Road.
Why did it make it much
As
thinner in
the
this
victim
picture?
lay at death's door, the mystery of just who had stabbed the young lady from behind had been resolved. But no sooner had my friend saved that Eastern exchange student from his harrowing plight than in the dim, flickering shadows of gaslight did a second bizarre crime rend the stillness of that very night. I dare say most can still recall the sensational headlines of the day. Haunted apartment of death, the condemned criminal's curse, the dread demon of coal gas.
Oh, gas.
Yet, though the great detective had at once discerned the truth upon his arrival at the scene, it only proved to be
It's
the
the Shakespeare
overture that
guy.
announced the rising of the curtain on a most tragic play.
Okay. My name is Iman. Starting my journey. No, you're not. You're nobody, because we're out of here. And that's where we'll finish it for today. I would have done an escapade if we had extra time, because we ended later than 2 hours. I'm not going to do that because it's already past the time and we finished the first case. My throat needs a rest. So yeah, that's where we'll stop for today. We shall hopefully be able to do an escapade next time, but we'll find out. We'll see where that goes. But yeah. Thank you all for joining today. Hope everyone enjoyed. I liked the first case. It was actually very engaging. The first, like, it seems to me that both the first cases for this game, for the second game and the first one, are actually pretty good. There are times where, like, the first cases in the Attorney games seem to be good anyway, but these were, like, pretty good. But yeah, thank you for joining today as usual. If you have not already, like, follow, subscribe, bell notifications, all that stuff so you know when our next stream. And if you want to support me, is link to Patreon and tips. And if you do become a patron, you get your name entered the patron list here, where I give you a shout out at every stream, like I do with Hiro Kuni, the Soulmaster 37, Rafatron 2000. I think with the continued support, I greatly appreciate you all. And we managed to solve one more case and find out there's a mystery to be solved. And then yeah, so thank you all for joining today. Tomorrow, because we finished Dying Light, I have to try and find some other games to replace that. I think I have an idea. I think I need to have a look again. Where is it? Because I had something, but I can't remember what it was. And it was like a short thing too. But I can look through my list and then I can see something. For the moment, we'll say that there might be one tomorrow. If that ever changes, I will put up a post on like Twitter and stuff like that and say like, hey, I won't be able to stream tomorrow. So, you know, for right now, I will say that there will be one. But if that ever changes, like I said, I'll make an update. But yeah, until next time, I'll see you either tomorrow with whatever I end up choosing. And next week, I will be back with this on Tuesday. Oh, wait, no. Next week is Christmas, isn't it? Well, I'll decide that. I'll tell you all that tomorrow. But for now, thank you for joining. I'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, y'all take care. Have a nice rest of the day, and have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. Bye, Raffletron. Bye, everyone else. Bye-bye.